on the docks, on the rocks. We got some seafaring ladies. I'm a shoreside gal myself. A lot of different women have come to this town, all for seafaring reasons, and others in the past not so much. But there's a lot of really strong, wonderful fisherwomen in this town, or who work in the fisheries, working to protect the ocean, working to conserve and protect our fish. And a lot of people make their livelihood on salmon, especially in this town. Well, I guess now tourism as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amen. Tourism.
Absolutely. Well, that's the economy now.
There's
a mixture.
I came to Ketchikan, and I came up to work at a fish plant, and I came up because there was so much overtime that my brother had the year previous came up, and he was like, man, bragging about how much money he made, and I was a single mom with 2 kids, and I was like, I want to make that money. And so my mom, she watched my kids that summer, and I came up. I lasted 2 days in the
It's hard work.
Well,
I lasted 1 day.
I only lasted 2 days because they offered me an office position. And so I went to the office position as an administrative assistant, only as a summer gig, and then I rocked it. So they ended up
you did.
Yeah, they ended up offering me like a full year position.
Awesome.
And so I moved my kids up, and I fell in love. As soon as I saw the boats and what they were doing and like this whole process, I just fell in love with it. My first year here, I got to spend 2 days on a tender, and that is when I became obsessed. Seeing the whole process that the tenders do, how they go out to the fishery, the fishing grounds, and they help these fishermen. They get them their fish, they get them food, and whatever mechanical equipment that they need. I loved it, and the interaction with the fishermen, the stories they had, it was amazing. So I just fell in love, and then I started having this dream of like, man, I have 2 kids. I can, make some money off them. And they're going to be my decades.
Yeah.
I want to be a captain. And, I got a lot of discouragement about it because I was a single mom, and I bought into it a lot, and I ended up getting a human resource position, and I put my dreams on hold because my kids. And I kind of fell into depression because I seen all these boats come in and out. I was like, man, I just want to be out there. And I just had a calling for it. Well, in 2018, I met my captain, and she gave me a chance. She was just like, you know what, you're pretty badass. You seem like you can handle it out there. And I got to take a couple trips on another tender. Just periodically, I would take vacation days. And I would just be like, okay, well, I'm going to take these vacation days, and I wouldn't tell my employer where I was going or anything, because I technically couldn't be on the boat. And so I would just take the vacation days and to go work on the boat. And man, I loved it so much. And then when I met my captain and she offered me a summer position, I gave up my human resource position. And everyone thought I was crazy because they're just like, you have a stable job. What are you doing? This is good for your kids. Yeah. But the ocean called my name, and I answered it. And now I'm taking my captain's course, and I'm going to be a captain. And my kids are going to be a decade.
That's awesome.
And they're pretty excited about it too. This past, the end of summer, we got to take them out on the boat with us, the boat that I periodically work on. And they were chopping ice. They were, putting the fish in the fish hold and helping with the taking the tow straps off. And they were working, and they loved it. They thought it was like the best thing in the world. And I gave them a little bit, but it was just to give them some incentive. And it was awesome. And my dream was I seen it. It was right there. Absolutely. So I love the water. It brings such a calming feeling over me and so much joy. When I'm out there, I'm happy. Yeah. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. The whole process from when the fishermen catch the fish to when they cut it, gut it, whatever, and then us packing it and delivering it and then bringing it out to the world is something amazing. Mm-hmm. When my parents are from California, when they actually see wild caught Alaskan salmon, they're like, send me pictures. I'm like, is this you? I was like,
Yeah.
probably. I just like them to think it was me. So it's awesome.
I like that you mentioned that, passing that on to your kids, because it is a family business.
Yes.
When, and I understand the working in the office, I worked in the office in the cannery. I mean, I did mainly admin stuff. In my first year, I actually was a parts runner. So I was a parts runner for the machinists and, anybody on the plant who needed parts and that sort of thing. And occasionally for the fishermen, which turned into more than occasionally.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, there's a beautiful relationship. There's a lot happening there.
Yes.
Between catching the fish out, out at sea, bringing it back, and then it landing on someone's table. There are a lot of steps there.
Yeah,
There's so many different moving parts to make that all work, and we don't realize that when we sit down and look at our food, and we don't necessarily connect to where did that come from, who caught that, did that pass through your hands, and then down in the plant, like how many people worked. That was their bread and butter, to get that fish to your table.
Oh yeah.
It's an amazing process, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
So true, so many different aspects of the culture that we live in today, that like total disconnectedness. And we're talking about it specifically fish. And that's one of the reasons that I think like my relationship with the ocean has been so productive working in tourism. Like it feels superficial if you look at the cruise ships, and especially for a lot of townies, I think it's easy for them to be like, oh, get off my roads, like this is a logging town, this is a fishing town.
Right.
Like, but like encouraging that relationship between those people and this place is like really informative for like people who don't necessarily have this intimate knowledge of the fishing industry, the way that people who live and breathe it and live in a town with it. So introducing them to those concepts, and then the bigger environmental pictures too, like why should somebody from America's heartland care about the roadless rule unless somebody in Alaska tells them about it and points to those trees and this ocean and things like this. This matters. One of my favorite things to do to people that are traveling north is tell them to go to the Mendenhall Glacier and stand in the visitor center and look at the pictures. Look at where that glacier was.
Yeah.
And
Look at where we are now.
Look at where it is now.
Right.
And nowhere else than Southeast Alaska to get like that really comprehensive picture. But it still takes a facilitator, which I like really view my job as an ocean going person to be that facilitator for people, to constantly remind every person that comes out with me on the water that this is important and this is why, and
make it tangible for them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what you're doing. Absolutely.
Sometimes I think that's where that disconnect is. Yeah,
right.
Because when folks come from down south, or I'm originally from Seattle, and we saw what happened to our salmon runs, for example, down the Pacific Northwest, and you kind of watch that happen through Oregon and then Washington State, and you just wish that doesn't happen here. Yeah. And that there's a lot of things, conversating about the roadless rule. I've talked to a few folks who've said, well, what does that have to do with fish? I mean, that's the ocean. It's separate, right? But it's not.
No.
also
There's a relationship there, and if you're not protecting one, you're not going to protect the other. Which is where my deep love. I always wished I could have gone on a boat. I was always up in the office. Though I did slam some racks down the cannery. Not gonna lie about that. I jammed it out in there, but just keeping that all in perspective.
Right. Yeah, and that's
we're the stewards, maybe it got lost in there for a while.
Right.
Greed drives a lot of things in society, but we have to care.
Yeah.
We can't not. We don't have the luxury anymore.
Too. People, to your point, people are coming up to explore Alaska, and then I think our economy now is based on tourism, which is wonderful, but people want to know the story. I think they come here, and I don't know if they're fully aware that we're dependent upon them in a huge way, right? Because after the pulp mill, and people lost their jobs in the pulp mill, and then it was, the infrastructure here, and the economy was based on, logging, fishing, and primarily those two things. So, I come from a family of, I'm flying, right? So you had flying, and then you had logging, and then you had fishing. Yeah. And that was this economy, and it's funny now because that's what makes people want to come here and hear those stories. So There's so much history, and a lot of it is, based on the sea, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
And our relationship to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't think people understand how
Charlie
important
B's
it is.
excited about it.
Yeah.
But these are actually pink Carhartts.
They
That's
are.
actually adorable. I didn't realize. She's rocking it. She's ready. You can throw her on a boat pretty soon too. She's ready to go.
Well, that's cool that how you made those connections working.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't get involved in fishing unless it's their legacy.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's something that's passed down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
it gets
I
passed
don't
down
come
through
from
the
it, which
families.
is, I'm from pilots. My family history is pilots, but to get in, it's hard to get a position out there.
From California,
Yeah.
a small town,
It's just-
Central Valley. I've only seen the ocean a handful of times. Never actually been out in the water. And
Isn't that
then
amazing?
I came out here and I was just like, what is going on out here?
Yeah.
What is this? And my first trip out on the water is when I fell in love. And I the boat that I periodically worked on for 2 years, and even this last summer, he just wanted to give me a chance to see if I even liked it or what, because I had this dream, but I didn't know if I can actually achieve it. What if it's just a dream, and what if I don't like it? And so he gave me a chance, and he let me go out on the boat with him, and it was amazing. I fell in love, and he's gonna hate me, but I prayed for rough seas because I wanted to see how it was. Because if I was gonna give up, if I was gonna give up my job, my good job, I wanted to do something that I liked.
Right.
What if I give it up and I can't even handle it?
That's a huge risk.
Rough seas.
Yeah. Or
So-
even without,
Yeah.
The first time I experienced it, I was so excited. I went into the wheelhouse and I was eating nuts. I remember eating nuts. I'm like, this is awesome. And he's just sitting there laughing at me. He's like, okay, just watch. Sure enough, a couple swells in, I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And he did tell us hey, it's gonna start getting pretty rough. I was a newbie. I was a greenhorn.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that meant to let down the cover in the refrigerator.
Yeah. He's like, that implies a task. You're like, okay, I'm ready to get sick.
I was just excited, okay, let's do this.
How new is your vessel?
I don't remember. He's not gonna like it. But
He's gonna watch it. He's gonna watch me. Make sure of it.
I couldn't remember. It was just it wasn't too rough, but it was rough.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the bathroom. I came out, and just as I was coming out and I was gonna lay down, the fridge opens, and I remember white rice spilling everywhere because we had white rice for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just all over the kitchen floor, and I'm just sitting there helping the other deckhand vacuum it up, and I'm trying to pour back, and I went back and I loved it.
Yeah.
I was like, I could do this. This last summer, I was the engineer in training because I took a QMed class at UAS.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my certs or whatnot, and I thought I knew what I was doing. And the engineer, he's like, okay, you're going to do everything then. And I'm just going to sit back and watch. And so I would have to go do the engine room checks, and it started getting a little rough. And I went out, I had to do my checks. And as soon as I hit the engine room, it was done. It was horrible. Smelling everything, and then it being rough. And
Diesel,
you're just
I love
doing
that.
this.
I don't know why. I love that smell.
I
I'm that
do.
person. I'm like,
I normally do, but when
there's
it's rough out there,
something sexy about it.
I
See,
me too.
I don't know what it is.
That's how I feel about you can hear it when people get on. It's so noisy, you can't hear. You have to scream from one side to the next. Oh my god, I fucking
love
love
it.
that
Yeah.
shit.
There's something animalistic about it. I don't know what it
The
is.
noise they
It's
have
like
in the car.
hard work and diesel. I don't
Yes,
know.
I love it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just not rough
Yeah,
seas.
during this conversation that I'm a kayak.
I'm like,
I like
you're not
sliding
a
around,
novice,
right? Yeah. Hell no. You're like fight or flight. Fight or flight. No, that is a good point, right?
That smells like money.
Oh
my
yeah.
god, that's the money smell.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know we're getting
It's some people are like, how do you stand that smell? And you work in the cannery, and I had been, I was a parts runner, and then I worked in an office, and then I did HR for one of the years. years too.
Yeah.
So I'd be going in and out of the plant constantly, you know, and walking down on the dock, and you get some smells. You know, you're not eggs getting pulled out of, a million pounds of fish. It's gonna, and you
kind of break after a while.
Oh, girl.
Just association.
There's something about an open toe, and you're like, that's right, but also like, it's sexy.
That's totally, like, it smells like
it's
hard
work.
work.
Like somebody worked their ass off to bring that here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and in a respectful way as well. It's subsistence and commercial, very different relationship there. But there's just something beautiful about harvesting a food that we have harvested for who knows how long.
And with care, and I think
with care and with respect.
That energy that goes into the food like that, I think. I mean, you can tell. I can tell the difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How everybody's so careful of handling the fish, and everything is just so respected. It's pretty amazing.
So that's their livelihood.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is,
Yeah, slow food movement for sure.
Mm-hmm. The last wild caught protein.
Yeah, and pinks being pretty much like our really truly wild, species of salmon. At this point, it's like crazy when watching the populations of pinks. I hate to always take that direction, but it's we're in some really interesting times.
Absolutely.
And
it's as far as the food goes too, it's really on the point of slow food movement. Not to get off on food because I could talk about that forever, but just when there's lack of sun, it's interesting to see when an economy is based on food substance, right? So the fish is really high in vitamin D because we lack a lot of that. So it's provided through the food that you make your money off.
Yeah,
it's pretty fascinating. It's a part of the whole. It's just the fabric of things.
Definitely.
And there's something about like living closer to the seasons in that way.
Yes.
So working your ass off during the summer. I mean, relationship to subsistence or commercial fishing. Just all that work that's done to prepare for the rest of the year. The ocean, that's the time for you to interact with the ocean. You have the summer, and you've got this span of time to just go for a winter that's going to slow you down. You take things slower and you turn in a little bit.
Yeah, I love it.
And there's really no better display of that versus a place that lives,
that rhythm.
The rhythm of the ocean and the seasons and fishing. Commercial or subsistence. But,
that's pretty awesome.
How did you get involved with the ocean because you're such a badass? Like,
oh, thanks.
Because I work at the fish house. I did one season, and I would see Mary just
cruising by,
slow, and I just love seeing women on the water. I'm just like, I know that girl.
Yeah,
there's something about it. And it's I don't know. There's something about it.
That is really how I got to know you for the first. It's like being on the docks and being down there by the water, and that's such a fun subset of the culture here. And this is already such a small town. Everybody knows a lot, but the head nod. Like, I got you. The people in Thomas Basin, those are my neighbors. I live next to some people, but the guys I walk by on the dock, and those are your neighbors.
It's like being in a crew. You got a crew.
Oh, for sure. And people will talk about their boat being on City Float. I'll be like, oh, that's why I didn't know you had a boat. All the way on City Float.
Oh, you're at City Float. Okay, well, I'm in Thomas Basin. So.
But I came here and I knew I wanted to work on the water, but I didn't have any of the credentials necessary for that except for my winning personality. So I was like, all right. So I got a job as a kayak guide, and that was my first opportunity, and luckily that kayak job provided me a little bit of boat time. And
so you got sea time from that.
Yeah, I got sea time
That's
from the kayak job. So I became super intimately familiar with the water and the intertidal zone, which is just a magnificent section of the ocean. I got to be right on top of every day for hours a day and learn about and have real incentive to learn about. Because I was living here, but I wasn't talking about it. I wasn't looking at it every day. But when you're in tourism, people are going to ask you questions what is that? Oh, how long does a barnacle live? Why would I know that?
It's the this whole, you realize how much of another world it is and how much
Totally.
knowledge to, like, you know, to be able to educate on
Well,
it.
and how awesome it is that you had that curiosity too, because there are a lot of people who don't.
Right.
So that you had that
Yeah.
respect and that curiosity, that's beautiful.
Thank you. I don't think
Yeah.
I necessarily appreciate it about myself because it's like innate for
Absolutely.
me to like be like, yeah, of course I
Right.
don't know how long barnacle.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't appreciate that.
Right,
And
totally.
it is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
So I got the experience there, working with the kayaks and really up close and personal with the water. And then because I was getting sea time, and because I am just so type A, I was like, oh, well, I mean, I'm on a boat. I should get my captain's license.
You just did it?
Did you mention before you worked on the Alaska Marine Highway, you were on the ferries?
Oh yeah. So I
Okay.
also worked in
Mention
like
that
a more like industrial, large scale water setting. It was not for me. I liked.
Did you get your sea time? I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you get your sea time on doing that as well?
No, I already had my captain's license when I went there, and I think that's.
okay.
I think I liked being part of a crew. That is definitely a different feel because it's a really large crew, and I'm one piece of a cog that's like this huge machine. I used to go. My partner and I would go to the grocery store, and we would meet people I worked with on the ferry, and I would be like, if the captain and 4 other people died, this is the captain of the boat. With like introducing us to like
the industry framework.
Right, of course, and I think to I'm like, I explain my job. It's like, well, if the captain and 43 other people die, I'm in charge. That's my job. That's where I am. No pressure. No pressure. Which is really fun, but also like really humbling to be a little part of the cog when I'm used to like having a small vessel that I am in charge of, and this is my domain.
I'll be honest, whenever I would ride the ferry, Alaska Marine Highway, so coming from Bellingham or going up in other parts of Southeast, or one time, across the Gulf of Alaska up to Homer, when I would look at the crew members, I'm like, fuck, they're doing this whole thing with us, and they got to do it again, and then they got to do it again, and they got to do it again, and it's a lot of time out to sea. But it's the 1 week off, 1 week on sort of deal, right? Depending where you're traveling to, right? I think if you cross the Gulf of Alaska, you're probably like a 2 or 3 weeker,
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time in the water.
There's a lot of time in the water.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautifully unique and wonderful thing, the Alaska Marine Highway.
Oh yeah.
It is.
So
It's special.
so amazing. Yeah.
Down in Seattle, there's ferries, to islands and to go to peninsulas and whatnot, but it's just not the same. There's not a you hop onto the Alaska Marine Highway, you get on a ferry, and you've got your tent, and you've got all your gear, and you just feel like you're living in this little bubble for a few days, depending where you're going.
And one of the places that we used to
Beautiful.
go once a month was Pelican. So 120 people
Yeah.
live on a boardwalk that's
Yeah.
up an inlet in the ocean, and they get pallets of food delivery, and that is how they try to survive. If it wasn't, like, barges don't go there. They don't even
No,
have the
they
infrastructure to accept barges. Like,
Right, wow.
the Alaska Marine Highway. And
The
floatplanes
Zieski
don't,
inlet,
floatplanes probably
Probably just for like a emergency.
right, but I wonder,
I've heard of it, I just don't know.
if that the population could survive the same way.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
So, is there a ferry that's going there now?
I don't know with the change
With the cut
has.
service.
Yeah, they cut service to a lot of
Oh,
places. I don't know.
so
It can
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about all these little towns that depend on that. I work in Cordova in the summer, and
Oh my
I
God,
think
they're
about
ferry
them.
service for the
Yes,
winter.
yeah, and I think about them so
Sad.
much, and it's crazy.
Or they cut it for like,
You
a
know,
I
line
don't know.
for the winter.
I'm
Yeah.
not too sure.
I think that they were. I think there was a good 3 months or something
Yeah.
that they were getting cut. But
Yeah.
that's
You know what? I believe they are cut until what?
until
June,
the
May?
new schedule. Yeah,
Yeah.
the summer schedule.
Wow.
comes in.
Yeah. And it's like, how do they survive? I mean,
Yeah.
Anchorage is there, but it's like
Right.
a day and a half, 2 days to get there. It's expensive. Yeah. Yeah. It's sad, really, because there's not just Cordova, but there's so many little towns here. That
All the coastal community is
Yeah.
so dependent on the ocean. I mean, if they can't get a ferry, you can't get medicine, you can't get supplies.
Terrifying. Yeah, and then if they have to go to a doctor visit, and then to go through Alaska Airlines is so much. So you're already hurting these people who are already medically hurt, and then financially hurting them. It's very
right, and that's why they call it the highway, because this
It
is
is a
Alaska's
highway.
highway.
Yeah.
You know,
all the coastal communities, all the islands.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't.
It's not doable.
We can't hop on the freeway and take care of business. This
is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
Nobody asks if roads or infrastructure in like cities or less rural places makes money.
Yeah.
Nobody asks that question.
Point to it.
Yeah.
Like, when did that become a conversation? Is this going to be a profitable thing for us?
That's not the point.
Yeah.
Or just know we're going to shut down the freeway, so
Yeah.
you can't reach any of the things that.
Yeah, that you need.
Yeah,
the bare essentials.
safe.
That's
It's
what
safe.
the Alaskan Marine Highway is. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Teams going to competition. You got different teams from Ketchikan going up to Petersburg, going up to Juneau.
Right, and it shouldn't be a political thing. It should just be.
It's a
Yeah.
I'm trying to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Come on, just get me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Charlie? Yeah. That's great.
I'm on board. She's like,
Hear me roar.
It's the solidarity right there.
I said she's there.
Yeah, she's for it. She's like, what's the difference between the ocean and the concrete? I know, it's a highway. It's the same. She's right. Smart girl. Yeah, smart girl.
She's very verbose.
On point.
Apologize. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know. Okay. She's excited. Ooh, that's kind of cozy, isn't it? That's pretty cozy, Jason. Thank
We
you.
want to do like 15 more minutes and then just like whatever the natural end of that is, you just kind of wrap it up and say thank you for tuning in to
On the docks, on the rocks.
Yeah.
On the ducks. I might have a little splash.
Yeah, here.
She wouldn't hug her, will she get upset? Oh, she won't. As long as I'm here.
As long as I'm here.
And it's funny because I don't want her to have attachment things, but at the same time, I secretly love it now.
Yeah.
I know. She does my mom is very animated, so when she shows up at the house, which we're really blessed to have help like that.
Yeah.
My mom will come to the house and get her sometimes. She goes and reaches out to her.
Yeah.
She does not do that with me. I'm like, Mom, get out. Oh, you're done. Those cards kill me.
Oh my goodness. I wish they made them for adults, but at the same time, I don't wish that because they wouldn't look this fun.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah,
look
yeah,
good,
perfect,
but
like,
I don't know
yes.
about pink. I mean, I'm sure you can.
Who am I kidding? The originals.
You were wrong.
She's
Pink
perfect.
Carhartts.
If they have
Rock the
purple,
shit
if
out
they
of
have
us.
purple Carhartts, hey,
Yeah,
Carhartts,
pink is a little.
purple.
We do have a tendency to
Adult
dress
size.
her.
That'd be
Don't like
nice.
boy clothes, because the coolest clothes are the boy clothes.
Of course.
Unisex.
Oh.
I know, so
Oh,
you.
unisex.
I mean, yeah, she's gonna look back at her pictures like, why did you guys want a boy? No, we just all cool clothes for boys.
When I was born, I pretty much had my hairline was connected to my eyebrows, and everyone's like, "Oh, what a cute little baby boy!" They're like, "No."
Well,
Shannon-
on top of it, we named her Charlie, so this is our fault. This is our fault.
Yeah. If they knew and they were expecting a boy, that's okay. Cheers.
And I was really excited to bring her because I want her to be around badass ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. These things were cold.
I just love her.
One of my crewmates, every time we would take a shot or whatnot, she would say, "Look in the eyes, look in the eyes."
Oh, yeah.
Back in
You have
the
to.
day, you
have
have
to.
to. If not, they you might think that they might poison you or something. I guess in the olden days.
That's a better.
That was such a really interesting. Just I
We need to go.
see more, or kind of the bad luck. Superstitions. Yeah, I love the ocean superstitions.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Oh, the bananas?
Yeah, the no bananas.
No suitcases.
Right.
Yeah.
Suitcases.
The way that you coil the ropes. I can't remember if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, but one of them is.
Clockwise.
Whoa, great. You know.
Clockwise, yeah.
Yeah. Peeing on the net before they go out for an opener. No.
heard that one.
There's been a few, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta go to the
It's a
basketball
territorial
opener
thing.
tomorrow." Yeah. Like, so might as well just hit the net. Well, all right, that's easy.
I'm
So
gonna
do the ladies do it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
you-
everybody, maybe
Yes.
everybody's supposed to, but I went.
I want to hear the craziest stories of being a female on a boat. If there was just all men, do you guys have any of those?
No, I had the pleasure of working with 2 women.
Awesome.
Badass women.
Yeah.
The engineer who, we just dubbed a woman. Like, you're a part of, and he took it on.
Smart, you must be a woman.
Yes.
He's like, you're right.
Very good.
I like that he was on board.
Yeah, no, we made him.
He's like, I don't have another option.
Yeah.
We had this fisherman who threw away some rain gear, and he's like, yeah, I don't want him. So we saved him, and we made him a dress. And
that is
very nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun being,
And
it's
you
fun
still
being a
have it.
woman in a male-dominated
No, he's
industry.
a chief.
It is. Yeah.
It is. It's
There's
pretty
something
awesome.
about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially
yeah.
to get a lot of crap saying like you can't do this, or after taking my QMed class, I was a little scared, but the engineer, he actually gave me a chance to like prove that I did know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that was awesome, and I give it up to Jason. Yeah, he was pretty awesome, and the things that I didn't know, he showed me, and to get that, you don't get that a lot. And even my captain that I work with periodically, he didn't give me no crap about, okay, you're a single mom and you want to work on a boat, what's wrong with you?
Right. Like,
He
are
was
you
just
like shaming you for
come
being
out
like,
here.
you're just like,
Yeah. And
right.
he let me steer a little bit and do little things, and it was cool. And this last time that I worked with him, he really let me take range, and it's nice to get that, to not have to always fight. Like, I do know what I'm talking about,
Right.
Because I had that captain too, where I worked for a brief period, a few openers, and it was hard. It was hard to get told that you don't know what you're doing.
Well, and it's kind of the culture too. It's
Yeah,
like,
it
and I don't
is.
even
Yeah.
know if it's gender specific. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it's a part of that culture.
Yeah.
I found personally it wasn't something overt where someone would be like, "Oh, you can't do this." I think in actuality, how it would play out would be like they would just do it
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to like when you're a girl in math class
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, and the guys would want to do your homework for you.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. Like that's cliche. That didn't happen to me. Shit. So now I can't math. I'm horrible at math. So there's that.
Okay.
But now I'm a feminist, so it's fine.
There you
I
go.
don't. But that's
Right.
how I think it plays out in like a
Yeah.
feministic lens. It's like they're not gonna say, "Oh, you can't do this." They're just gonna jump off the boat and tie up the boat.
It was
It's like, no, let me tie up the boat.
Or they'll be surprised when I'm speaking from not being on the boat, but just being at the processing plant, and doing running errands for men.
Oh yeah.
Running errands for men in a male-dominated industry as a female, and they're like, they send you out with a list, and you're like, you didn't need to ask me 7 times about all the things on the list. I knew what they were, and if I did, I'd figure it out.
I know I have a
But
vagina, but I can read.
But you realize when you have the vagina, you just have to prove yourself harder.
Yeah.
You just have to work harder, which to prove that I deserve the respect just the way that I do it.
Right.
So no one's telling me you can't do it. But
Well,
they
and
are.
then when you do something right, you become really badass. When in actuality, it's like, no, I'm just doing the same
Yeah.
job you're
Right.
doing.
Right.
It doesn't make me badass. It's like I'm literally just doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think to take that conversation full circle, how you were saying before that, if you're not sure if it's gender specific, if it's the culture of fishing and the idea that in that culture of fishing, people don't give you instructions. It's like, I don't want to tell you what to have to do. I want you to have thought about what to do, and how incredibly male that feels.
Right.
If this were a female-dominated industry to begin with, we would carefully and beautifully explain the processes we wanted you to accomplish in the first place, and how maybe that entire culture will shift, and how wonderful inclusion can be in that way. Is just things get better.
Yes.
Right.
When you include everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the stigma too, is and I still do this as well. And it's like when I see when I would see you on your boat in the morning, that shit's badass. And I think that's part of where it's totally, and I'm not accessing the right words, where it's kind of is perpetuating that stereotype of that woman's badass, she's a captain. It's like, no, she's badass because, you know, I mean, what? Because she's female, and that makes her badass.
Why would that make it? Yeah, but
right. It should just be, oh, cool, that she's doing her job. But I think it's because of the directly related to the patriarch. Like, okay,
for sure.
it's not, you know.
And I think what you're alluding to is like, you know, it shouldn't have to be the way, but we are, you know, we're in the times where it's like, you know what, fucking A, if she's going to be doing something that's a male-dominated industry and we see her doing it, we're going to build you up.
Yeah. Hence this
we're not
whole
going to
thing,
break you down.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, that is badass. Fuck yeah, keep doing it. Excuse my French.
No, she says mama, and the next word's going to be fuck yeah.
Oh my gosh. I got a potty mouth. Okay, Charlie. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, it's been really fun chatting with you, ladies. I feel like the stories are just starting to bubble out.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess there'll be more on the docks, on the rocks, Tough Titty Television, and thanks, ladies.
Titty face.